Hello, live stream. That's weird. Never said that before. Actually, I want to change that to that, I think. Yeah, I've just made a quick change. If it doesn't work, tough. We'll have to wait and see. Everything sounds okay to me, and that's kind of what's important right now. If I notice I get any live stream viewers partway through, I will probably just address them quickly and let them know what this is all about. But for the meantime, hey. Oh, my word, my throat. Right, we are ready to start. I'm going to start a little bit differently this week as well. I need to find it. Where is it? Okay, 3, 2, 1. Have you ever wondered what would happen if all safety regulations were thrown out of the window when building a theme park? Yep, me too. And today, we're going to find out. My name is Diggy. This is That's a Freebie. And today, we're looking at Action Park.
Sit back, relax, unless you're driving. It's time for That's a Freebie.
Imagine, if you will, a theme park where the rides were as unpredictable as a toddler on espresso. The staff was mostly teenagers, barely older than the guests, and safety regulations were more of a suggestion than a rule. Welcome to Action Park in Vernon Township, New Jersey, an amusement park so notorious for injuries that it earned nicknames like Traction Park, Accident Park, and the painfully appropriate Class Action Park. This is the story of a park that opened in 1978, a place that mixed the thrill of near-death experiences with water slides and go-karts. Wait, what? Let's dive into the chaos, the lawsuits, and the legendary... I did that wrong. Let's dive into the chaos, the lawsuits, and the legacy of a park that made you question if the waiver you signed was actually a last will and testament. Action Park was the brainchild of a guy called Eugene Mulvihill, and his company, Great American Recreation, also known as GAR, which sounds weirdly appropriate, faced with the problem of how to make money in the summer off-season at a ski resort. Mulvihill decided that the solution was simple. Build a water park, because why not, right? It's that simple. But not just any water park, one where the thrills were real and safety precautions were, well, let's say optional. The park opened on July 4th, 1978, with a mix of water slides, a go-kart track, and a pair of opening day promotions, a Dolly Parton lookalike contest, and a tobacco juice spitting contest. Because nothing says family fun like spitting contests and potentially lethal water slides. By the 1980s, the park had grown to include 3 main areas: Motor World, Water World, and the Alpine Centre, with 75 rides spread over 250 acres, including 40 water slides and 35 motorised attractions. Action Park attracted thrill seekers from across the New York metropolitan area. At its peak, the park drew in over 1 million visitors per year. Unfortunately, a notable number of them left with more than just sunburn. You know, things like broken bones, concussions, and for a few tragic people, it was also a one-way trip to the hospital. Let's take a look at some of the rides that were available at Action Park. So there was the Alpine Slide. The Alpine Slide was a 2,700-foot-long death chute disguised as a leisure activity. Riders sat on small sleds with a brake that only had 2 settings: Turtle or Death Wish. The slide's concrete and fiberglass track was notorious for causing friction burns, broken noses, and the occasional trip airborne, which sounds cool, but probably not so much. In 1980, it claimed its first fatality when a rider was thrown from the track and struck his head on rocks. But hey, what's a little brain trauma in the pursuit of summer fun, huh? Yeah, this was the whole problem with the park. The chutes were surrounded by hay bales to cushion the impact of riders who veered off tracks, which was about as effective as using bubble wrap to stop a runaway car. Even worse, the track ran directly underneath the ski lift, meaning those riding up could spit or heckle on the unlucky souls screaming their way down. What? People are just awful. There's also a ride called the Cannonball Loop. Excuse me, hang on, I'm going to take a drink. I'm going to start that section again. God. There was also a ride called the Cannonball Loop. Imagine a water slide that ends with a full vertical loop, the kind you'd see on a roller coaster. Now imagine testing it with human beings instead of crash test dummies, because apparently that's what they actually did. Riders reported injuries ranging from bloody noses to getting stuck in the loop. Stuck in the loop? Can you imagine? That sounds awful. That's like nightmare fuel, that. During one inspection, they discovered teeth embedded in the slide's walls. If you made it out in one piece, you were rewarded with the bragging rights of having survived a ride that was closed almost immediately after opening. Wow. There was the tidal pool that also got the nickname the Grave Pool, which does not sound great. Action Park's wave pool, known to staff as the Grave Pool, was essentially a giant people washing machine, with waves reaching up to 40 inches high. Lifeguards reportedly rescued 30 people on busy days, and tragically, it was the site of multiple drownings. With waves that could disorient even strong swimmers, it became clear that the biggest splash at this attraction was the one caused by EMTs diving in for yet another rescue. The pool was so dangerous that lifeguards were rotated more frequently than some meat at a Brazilian steakhouse, mainly to prevent burnout from the near-drowning rescues. Then there was the Tarzan swing. The ride was simple. Grab a metal bar, swing out over an icy spring-fed pool, and let go. What wasn't simple was surviving the 50-degree shock of the water below. More than a few riders had to be rescued after realising mid-air that they weren't as brave or as sober as they thought. More than a few riders had to be rescued after realising mid-air that they weren't as brave or as sober as they thought they were. In 1984, one man suffered a heart attack after dropping into the frigid water. It turns out that mixing extreme cold with adrenaline and questionable sobriety was a recipe for disaster. And in case you haven't worked it out by now, they sold alcohol at this water park. And apparently, a lot of the time, most people were just absolutely out of their minds. So that's not a good combination. There was also a ride called Battle Action Tanks. For a small fee, guests could drive tanks equipped with tennis ball cannons and shoot at each other. Sounds fun, right? What's the problem there? Well, every time a tank broke down, employees had to dodge a barrage of tennis balls to fix them. It was less family vacation and more a live-action version of Call of Duty, with much, much worse safety standards. So as you can imagine, the whole thing was just a legal nightmare. Action Park's legal strategy was a lot like its safety strategy, and it was just non-existent. The park operated for years without proper liability insurance, opting instead to create a shady Cayman Islands-based insurance company. Wow. When the state eventually caught on, Mulvihill pleaded guilty to insurance fraud, just one of the many legal battles that would eventually drag GAR into bankruptcy. Between 1979 and 1986, the park received so many citations for safety violations that it probably kept the fax machine at the New Jersey Department of Amusement Ride Safety busy full-time. At least 6 people died as a result of accidents at Action Park. A 19-year-old died in the Alpine slide after hitting his head on the rocks. Two teenagers drowned in the tidal wave pool. A man was electrocuted on the kayak experience. I'm going to do that again because that sounded weird. A man was electrocuted on the kayak experience when he stepped on exposed wiring. on a water slide, or a water ride even. It doesn't have to be a slide, I suppose. Exposed wiring. Good God. Another guest died of a heart attack after using the Tarzan swing, and a visitor drowned in the cliff dive pool due to murky water hiding his unconscious body. The lawsuits, of course, piled up. Gar declared bankruptcy in 1996, and Action Park closed its gates for good. Or so it seemed. In 1998, the park reopened as Mountain Creek Water Park, with many of the more lethal attractions either heavily modified or removed, but the legend of Action Park lived on in the memories and scars of those who survived it. In 2020, the documentary Class Action Park recounted the insanity of it all, a mix of horror and nostalgia, for a time when you didn't need to fly to New Zealand to experience mortal peril. Para? What's para? I meant to say peril. Let's do that bit again. Start a marker. In fact, I might just do the whole thing again. In 1998, the park reopened as Mountain Creek Water Park. For many of the more lethal attractions, either heavily modified or removed, but the legend of Action Park lived on in the memories and scars of those who survived it. In 2020, the documentary Class Action Park recounted the insanity of it all, a mix of horror and nostalgia for a time when you didn't need to fly to New Zealand to experience mortal peril on vacation. For many, visiting Action Park was a rite of passage, a place where you could test your mettle and your health insurance at the same time. Today, it remains a darkly humorous, cautionary tale of what happens when an amusement park decides that safety regulations are for quitters. So, if you ever find yourself longing for the glory days of rides that doubled as murder attempts, just remember, no one ever died of boredom at Action Park. Yeah, but people did die. Hello, live stream. Apparently I have one viewer. Good to see you. Just in case you don't know, That's a Freebie. It's a podcast I do every couple of weeks where we do a deep dive into a topic of my choice. We've done Action Park this week. We're coming up now onto a section where I just talk about news from my life, essentially. Enjoy. Feel free to leave a comment if you want to. I've got something stuck on my computer there. That's not nice. It's gone. Right. Next. Doing this all out of order this week as well, so it's a bit weird. I don't know exactly where I'm going next. So I need to go to my document. Yep, that's why it didn't make sense. Right, okay, Action Park is done. All right, add a marker. Hello, everyone. You may have noticed things were in a slightly different order this week. I'm going to toy around with doing the Podtails topic at the start of the show because, well, why not? I thought I'd try and do things a little bit differently. I've got some follow-up from the previous episode. I made a couple of mistakes. What a surprise, eh? As I've mentioned many times before, it is easy to say the wrong thing when you're talking into a microphone because you're not 100% paying attention to what you're saying. You concentrate on getting it out rather than thinking about what you're going to say. Sometimes I don't let my brain catch up with my mouth. So I mentioned last week that it was episode 78. It wasn't. It was 79. Not a big problem. I don't even normally mention the episode number, but for some reason I did that week. And this, of course, is episode 80. And I also mentioned when I was doing a comparison with the 1904 Olympics length to the previous Olympics, I mentioned that they were in 2004 and they lasted 16 days. I was obviously completely wrong there. I meant to say 2024 and they lasted 16 days. It said 2024 on my document and everything. I just completely read it wrong because that's what I do, right? Talking about doing things wrong. This is the second time I have recorded this episode. I recorded this episode several days ago, and I messed up royally. I didn't pay enough attention. So one thing that, like a bit of a rule that exists when you're making a podcast, and again, different for everybody, but one that I try to live by is that you should always wear headphones. Because when you wear headphones, you can hear what's going on. You can hear if there's anything wrong with your voice. You can hear if you're too loud, too quiet. You can hear if you've pressed any buttons you shouldn't have pressed. All that kind of stuff. And a few days ago, I started recording the episode, and after a minute of recording, I hadn't even started the episode. I was still in the pre-show. So the part that the That's a Freebie Plus listeners get to hear before the show starts, of me getting set up, going through my show document, running through everything. During that part, I'd reached down and I moved my... it's called a Streamer X, and it's basically my audio interface. It does audio and video. And it has some little pads on it for sound effects. It does things like an air horn, like this. And I noticed that I caught one of the buttons. Now, I very rarely use any of these buttons. In fact, I say very rarely. I don't think I ever have used them because they're just not something I need. And I didn't realise that I'd caught a button that makes my voice sound a little bit...
like this. And I recorded the entire episode in this voice. I couldn't do anything to fix it.
I can't deal with any more of that. I've had to turn that down. So yeah, I couldn't do a single thing to fix it. I tried pitching it down, because all it does is it pitches up the sound. I tried pitching it down and nothing. Absolutely nothing. I was devastated. And I thought, do I just upload it anyway because it'd be funny? Or what? Anyway, no, I decided to re-record because I had a few ideas about what I wanted to do. Like, I hadn't changed the order of the show around at that point, and I thought, you know what, it's the perfect opportunity to do something that I've wanted to try for a while anyway. And so I decided to give it a go. And yeah, so anyway, I've re-recorded it. This is what I'm doing right now. It wouldn't have been too bad if I'd have hit this button instead.
Because this one actually sounds a little bit better. And I could have just carried on. Because you can at least tell what I'm saying.
As opposed to this one, where it's... Actually, maybe it's not that bad. Who knows? Should I just forget now and keep doing it like this?
No is the answer to that. I am not going to do that. Okay, moving on. So, so second time I recorded the episode. Anyway, everything seems fine now, so that's good. If I don't sound perfect, or like my normal self, that's just because I've got an extremely... Actually, I haven't got a sore throat. I'm just losing my voice. I've been losing my voice for a couple of days now. Probably got a cold start and I feel a little bit sniffly. You know me. I'm always sick, right? It's pretty much my MO. There is another change that I've made this week as well. So, as I said earlier, I've changed the order of things a little bit. Let me know how you feel about that. I'd love to know. I've also started live streaming the episode as well. So right now, I am live on YouTube and Twitch. If you want to watch this live stream, you can go back afterwards. Just go to YouTube and type in "That's a Freebie." It's the first thing that comes up. I've got hiccups now as well. It's the first thing that comes up. So you'll be able to rewatch it if you want to. You might not want to watch all of it. You just watch bits of it. You get to see me making the show. You literally can't see anything other than my face. Hi, just in case you're watching right now. I didn't even look at the camera then. I looked past my computer. The camera's there, not over there. I don't know why I did that. Again, if you're listening, that's not going to make any sense. This is going to be an audio-focused show going forward. I'm not going to do anything with the video. I very rarely even... I'm doing it right now because I'm talking about it, but I very rarely even look at the camera. You can just see me looking around the room. You can see me looking at my computer if I'm reading something. I'm not concentrating on video, so don't worry about that. The reason I want to live stream is, one, I might just reach a bit of a bigger audience. You never know. But also I can then cut bits out and put them on, like, make shorts out of them and stuff like that if I really find I want to. But we'll see. I don't have any plans for any of that right now. But let's see how it goes. I just wanted to add another element to it, make it more complicated for myself. Because that's what I do, don't I? Why are my glasses so crooked? Oh, my glasses are really messed up. Just gone to the video then, and they're sat perfectly in my ears, but I don't know. It's probably something to do with the way the video's skewed or something. Like I said, doesn't matter. So yeah, I'm going to be doing that. Now, for That's a Freebie Plus listeners, you might be thinking, well, hang on a minute. That one of our perks is that we get the bootleg feed, and that we get the unedited version, we get to hear all your mistakes, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. And, well, the feedback I've had is that most people actually prefer it if I just create the show and you get your additional bit at the beginning and the additional bit at the end. It can get very confusing when I'm stopping and restarting, and it adds a length to the show that isn't necessary, really. So the member feed, which I'm now going to start calling instead of the bootleg feed, the member feed is basically going to be the exact same show that everybody else gets, except you've got the additional content at the end, which is usually 10 to 15 minutes, maybe 5 minutes on some days when it's a slow week, and then you've got the preamble at the start of the show, like the pre-show, which isn't anything special, I'll be honest. It is just me setting everything up, testing all my equipment, all that kind of stuff. Sometimes I have a few messages that I can give out to just Plus users, but yeah, that's what the member feed is going to be from now on. It has been for the last few weeks, actually, because of the feedback that I got. So if you want to see the unedited, raw, me cocking everything up version, that's what the live stream is for. And I will only turn the live stream on as the show starts and turn the live stream off as the show ends. So there's no having to worry about, your paid for content going to anybody else. And while we talk about that, remember, you can go to that'safreebie.com and another website, which I'll get onto in a few moments, to take a look at the subscription options available. That was the only ad I've ever done for That's a Freebie. I really need to start getting better at advertising that, don't I? Excuse me. Add a marker to edit that big cough out. Done. What else is on my list? I had an absolutely bonkers trip to McDonald's this morning. Yes, that's right. It's another McDonald's story. So walks in, makes my order. Fortunately for me, everything was fine. It wasn't one of those days where I had something weird happen. It was just like crazy people around me. So first thing, there's a lady at the till, at the counter, stood there holding her hand out with a sandwich in her hand or whatever it was. It looked like an Egg McMuffin. I know now it was an Egg McMuffin, but she stood there holding it out. And she's going, excuse me, to all the people behind the counter. And of course, none of them are listening because they never do in McDonald's. There'll be somebody allocated to the counter and everybody else behind there will be thinking to themselves, I don't want anything to do with anybody that comes to that counter because it's not my job. That's how it certainly seems. And to be fair, they're probably very busy. And if they stop doing their job, if they get caught up in something that means that their job doesn't get done. I get it. I experience that on a daily basis too. I'm sure everybody does. But eventually somebody came over and she said, this is black and I don't want it. And the guy looked at the thing she was holding, and it was an Egg McMuffin, or it was now a muffin with egg on. Whether it was something else to start with, I do not know. She said, I realise I've almost eaten the entire thing, but that last little bit there is black. I had to eat around it. and he looked at her and he said, well, did you notice it as soon as you opened it? And she said, yeah. And he went, well, why didn't you bring it back then? Why did you eat around it? And she went, well, I didn't notice it straight away. And he was like, well, you just said you did. And she said, no. I ate around the thing. And then I noticed that the bit I'd been eating around has gone black. And he said, well, it's not black. It's just a little bit of discoloration to the egg white. That's what happens when you cook an egg the way we cook them. You'll find that most of them have that. It's just people don't usually inspect them. And then you've just noticed it. And she said, oh, it put me right off, though. It put me right off. It's knocked me sick. I feel so sick now. I can't eat it. And he went, but there's only one bite left, and it's probably half a bite at that. So you have eaten it. so it can't knock you that sick. And she went, look, just give me my refund and I'll go. And he went, no, you're not having a refund. I can make you a new one if you want. I don't have a problem with that, but I'm not giving you a refund. She went, why not? And he went, because this is the 4th time this week you've come to us with this story in the morning. And she went bright red. And he went, yes, I remember you. You've been in every single day this week and said that you're not happy about your sandwich at the very last bite. And she went, oh, just give me a new one then. So he gave her a new one. And she unwrapped it and started eating it and walked out the store. I'm like, well, can't have felt that sick, can you? So yeah, clearly someone just wanted to get a free sandwich. And unfortunately, it worked for her 4 times in a row. So hopefully they'll tell her to do one next time. Then, after she'd gone, well, this kind of was happening at the same time, but the majority of it happened after she'd gone. There's a guy waiting at the till. He's got a receipt in his hand, so he's obviously already ordered something from the machine. The ordering machines. He'd already ordered something from there. But he just kept walking into the kitchen. And they had to keep walking him back out. Like, I don't mean just like stepping over the threshold and looking around the corner. He kept walking full on into the kitchen and walking up to the conveyor belt where the food comes down for him to pack. And he kept going, is that one mine? And they're like, can you leave the kitchen, please? And they had to keep walking him back to the counter. Then he decided to walk in and he went over to the coffee area where they put the coffees together, and he started taking the lids off all the coffees to look to see which one was his, I'm assuming. I don't know. And they went over and they were like, sir, you can't do this. You need to go back behind the counter. And they escorted him. Like, they were having to grab him by his arm and pull him back behind the counter. Then they had to obviously throw all the drinks away because he tampered with them. And eventually they just gave up on him and said, what is it you've ordered? And he said what his order was. And they just went and got it all and gave it him and sent him out. And they're like, please don't go behind the counter again in the future. We have to throw away all the food that's behind there now because it could be contaminated. He's like, but I didn't touch any of it. Like, you did though. You touched all of it. You unwrapped everything to look to see what your order was. So yeah, then he left. Then another guy walks up. Of course, by this point, I'd been waiting 15 minutes because all the food had to be remade. My order was next up. It was in the collect section. The guy was putting it in a bag and he had to throw it all away. He'd come over and said sorry. I was like, yeah, I get that you've got to do that. That's fine. But then another guy walked over and he said, mate, I've been waiting 20 minutes now. And he hadn't. Like, I don't know what had happened, but he wasn't waiting. I saw him walk through the door and he walked over. He said, I've been waiting 20 minutes now. And the other guy looked at him and said, well, where have you been waiting? Because I've not seen you. And he said, I've been sat over there. I'm like, I've just watched you walk through the door. And he went, what is it you're waiting for? Because there's only one order. That was mine. And the guy said, well, I ordered this one on the app. And I've been waiting for you to call my number out. And he went, what's your number? And he went, oh, I can't remember my number. And he's like, well, let's have a look at the app. And he went, no, just get my order. I'll tell you what it is. And obviously the guy who works for McDonald's was a bit like, something's weird here. So he's like, no, I need to see the order. I need to see what your order number is because we haven't got an order for anybody other than that gentleman that's waiting there. And I know which one his is because I've already spoken to him about it. And the guy's like, oh, yeah. And he shows him the app. It basically turned out that he'd ordered on the app. And when he'd gone to pay, it declined his card. And he basically come in and tried saying it had gone through. He's like, no, look, I'll show you my bank. And he loads up his banking app and it literally says card declined. And the guy's going, it says declined. He's like, yeah, but it's got a number at the side of it, which means it came out. Wasn't forgetting it. Anyway, I left whilst that argument was still going on because I got my food. And then, this is the final one, I promise. And then, as I'm walking across the car park, a car goes the wrong way down it's a one-way system car park. The car goes the wrong way down the car park, and I had to step back because I nearly got hit by the car. Because, of course, I was only looking one way. Should have looked both ways, really, but I was only looking one way. And this car come sort of rolling along. It wasn't like... It was eerie. It was quiet. And basically, I looked in the window, and as I looked in the window, I could see that the lady was just basically... hand on the steering wheel, staring at her phone, not paying any attention whatsoever, and just going forward. And she plowed right into another car that was coming out of the drive-thru. And she was just staring at her phone, and this car was coming out of the drive-thru. She got out of her car and started screaming at this other person in the other car. And I just got in my car and left. I was like, I don't want to get stuck here. I had to get home and record this. I've only got an hour to record this, or roughly about an hour. I was like, I cannot get stuck in McDonald's car park at this time of day. So I got in my car, left, and let them all sort it out themselves. So yeah, busy day at McDonald's. Busy day at McDonald's. Excuse me. I've run out of drink. I'm going to go get a drink of water. I won't be a minute. Guess who's back? Back again. Tell a friend. Diggy's back, Diggy's back, Diggy's back. Ba-da-da-da-da. I have noticed that there's a time delay on my voice in Ecamm. We'll see how that goes. It's not that important right now. I also had an interesting experience. Actually, I need to put a marker in. Sorry, one sec. I also had a very interesting experience with ChatGPT this week. So I have launched a new website, which I will talk about in a moment. But whilst launching said website, I wanted to have a headshot of myself at the top of the page. Just a little, like, here's the text on who I am. Here's the text on what this website's there for, and here is a picture of me, because that's what most people have on the website. So that's what I wanted to do. Just got to adjust the mic. There you go, microphone adjusted. And so I took a few headshots using the camera equipment I had here, and I just wasn't happy with any of them. I kind of got a bit disheartened with it, because I was like, can't make anything that I like, blah, 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 blah. Same old thing. Nobody likes pictures of themselves, do they, really? So I decided to think, I thought maybe what I might want to do is have a cartoon version of me made using ChatGPT. I thought that might be nice. You never know. So, of course, I went to ChatGPT. I popped it open. I am now frantically searching in my ChatGPT, whatever it's called, list of previously done conversations, so that I can read it to you. There it is. Yep, that's the one. And it started by me uploading a photograph of myself and saying, "This is a photo of me. Can you make some illustrations that I can use as a headshot in 7 different styles, please?" Several different styles, not 7 different styles. And of course it went, "Yeah, I could create some illustrated headshots of you in different styles. I'll generate a few options, such as a clean vector style avatar, a cartoon or comic style illustration, a minimalist flat design, a more detailed semi-realistic digital art style. I'll get started on those and show you what they look like." And it did, except it created one image with 4 different versions of this image on. However, they were all exactly the same, just they all had varying levels of colour on them. So one of them was full colour, one of them was sepia, one of them was black and white, and one of them was black and white with a white background. That was all it did, and it was the exact same image other than that. The image is actually not too bad, except it gave me a full beard. I do not have a full beard. So I said, is it possible that I could have one without a beard? Because I don't have a beard. And it said, yeah, okay. And it made another in a completely different art style. Except this one had a full beard still. And oh wow, I still can't speak. And an earring. I don't have an earring. I have hearing aids, so I'm assuming that's where it was getting the earring idea from. So I put, I don't have a beard, I have a goatee, and I don't have an earring. And it went, okay, yeah, here's the updated minimalistic flat design headshot illustration I've made. It features only a goatee, no beard, no earrings. Let me know if this is closer to what you have in mind. And guess what it had? It had a full beard and 2 earrings. So I put, there is a beard and 2 earrings in the image that you made. And it said, it seems the illustration still included earrings and a more beard-like look. I'll try again, and I'll make sure that this has only a goatee, no full beard, no earrings, glasses and a friendly smile, minimalistic, flat design. Let's get this right. I'll generate a new version for you. And it did. Only this time it still had a full beard and 1 earring. And then, completely unprompted, it said, it looks like the illustration still included an earring despite my instructions. I'll give it another go and make sure it features. Only a goatee, no full beard, no earrings at all. Glasses and a friendly smile. I think you get the point at this point, yeah? It went, I'll get this fixed for you. It generated another image. Guess what? This one had a full beard and 1 earring on the opposite ear. And then again, completely unprompted, it said, it seems the illustration still included an earring despite my instructions. And it went on, and it created in total, I'm scrolling through and counting right now, it created 8 different versions of the same image. And it kept all completely by itself doing it again over and over. I didn't have to say that's incorrect. It knew it was incorrect, and it just went, let's keep going. And it just kept saying the same thing over and over and over and over and over. And then it said, I said, I just typed in, why are you struggling so much with this? And it put, yeah, I get it. It's been frustratingly off target. The main issue seems to be the AI's interpretation of no earrings and goatee only, which should be straightforward, but clearly keeps getting misrepresented. It's likely a mix of how the AI generates visual elements and some stubbornness in the style choices. Here's what I'll do next. I'll emphasize absolutely no jewelry, no earrings, no piercings, with even stronger language. Make sure the prompt is crystal clear about only having a goatee, no full beard, and keeping the design minimalistic and professional. Add extra details to avoid any ambiguous interpretations, like specifying bare ears and no accessories. And as soon as the server load allows, I'll give it another go, and I'll get this right for you. Hang tight. So I did indeed hang tight. And then it produced another image in a completely different art style with a full beard and an earring. And then it said, well, it looks like the cartoon version still included an earring despite the clear instructions to avoid any jewelry. This is definitely frustrating. I'll try again, focusing specifically on a goatee, no full beard, no earrings, piercings, or any kind of jewelry, a vibrant and fun cartoon style, a friendly smile and clear glasses. I don't know where it got all those things from. I'll make sure this next attempt gets it right. What do you think it did? It did not get it right. It instead created 1 image with me on there twice, me on the left with a full beard, me on the right with no beard. And it put, it looks like the illustration still included an earring on the left finger with the explicit instruction to avoid any jewelry. The right figure is closer to what you requested with no earrings and only a goatee. That's not true. The right figure had no beard, no goatee, no earrings at all. So it was slightly better, I suppose. And at that point, I just typed, it's okay, stop. And it put, yeah, got it. Sorry for the back and forth and the mismarks on the illustration. If you'd like to try a different approach, or if there's anything else I can help you with, whether it's podcast ideas, writing, or anything else, just let me know. I put, nah, you're okay, thanks. Yeah, that one was frustrating because it had no idea what it was supposed to be doing. Right. What mark are we on? We are on 42 minutes. So for regular listeners, to the show, this is where I'm going to start having the ask a freebie question. Except I'm making a change. It's now going to be called Dear Diggy. And I don't have a Dear Diggy question this week. The reason for that is instead, I'm going to talk about the new website. Now, That's a Freebie Plus listeners did already previously hear about this, although I gave you the wrong link for the website because, well, I'm an idiot at times. I automatically said nameofwebsite.com, and it's not .com, it's .media. I'll get to that in a minute for the rest of you guys. But yeah, so I gave the website address out incorrectly. I was in a rush. I was trying to decide whether I should or not, and I just did it anyway and did it wrong because, like I said, sometimes I can be a bit of an idiot. So yeah, for everybody now, this is all live, ready to go. I've been talking for a while about revamping that'safreebie.com, and one thing that struck me whilst I was in the middle of, I say revamping, I'm actually making that'safreebie.com. Previously, all it did was lead to a form that you could fill out to send feedback to the show. But I decided I wanted something a little bit more. As I've mentioned a few times, making the podcast has sort of unlocked the old creativity that I had and made me start wanting to be a little bit more creative. And there's quite a few things that I've been working on, some of which are already on the website. So there's a blog on the website. That's one of the things I've been working on. I've always liked writing, and I'm trying to get a little bit more back into writing. So there is a blog on there. On the blog, there is a whole piece about why I named the website what I named it. There's a whole piece on my thoughts and feelings on creativity. There is a section on there for That's a Freebie, which is all on the front page. So you scroll down on the front page, you'll see it. You can listen to the latest episode on there, or you can subscribe directly on there. And there's also a new section towards the bottom called Dear Diggy. And it is essentially what's replacing Ask a Freebie. So it's going to be called Dear Diggy. Basically, same old thing. Send me a question in. I'll answer it on the show. I may even, if I start getting lots of questions, I'll start answering multiple questions on the show. It is the section of the show where we have a little bit of interaction, because that's what I really want. I'd love more interaction. So that's what it's there for. You can still submit Podtails topics via the same link. It even says it on there, so don't worry, it all makes sense. But the new website is called Fluxo Media, and the website address is fluxo.media, and it's spelled FLUXO.media. When in doubt, just think Fluxo Media, because that's basically what it says in English. It is not English, though. It's Portuguese. And it means... well, actually, if you want to know what it means, go and read the blog post on the website, because there is a reason I called it that, and there was a long way to getting to that name. Some of it involved whether the address was available or not. Some of it involved trying to find something nice and simple. I will probably refer to it as Fluxo Media, but it's technically pronounced Fluxo. But yeah, check it out. There'll be a link in the show notes, as always. And that is now the main hub for all things That's a Freebie and for all things me. The that'safreebie.com address still links to, well, I say still, now links to fluxo.media. So you can put either in. Eventually the That's a Freebie one might stop working, but I own that address for a couple of years, yeah, and I'll probably end up keeping it anyway, because I don't want anybody else buying the address that's associated with my show. Blah, blah, blah. This week's pick of the week is a YouTube channel called The Gaming Historian. It's something I discovered whilst I was laid up in bed, not well. I lost many hours watching their videos. They are very good. They talk about all kinds of things. The ones that really got my attention, they talk about how video games like Super Mario Bros. 2 came to be. They talk about the story of Super Mario Bros. 3, which is my all-time favourite Super Mario game. They talk about all the Mario games. They talk about old consoles. There's the making of the SNES, of a Super Famicom, depending on where you are in the world. It's an amazing channel. I will leave a few links to some of the videos in the show notes because it really is amazing. The research that they put into it is fantastic. And there's lots of interesting stuff that has gone on in Nintendo over the years. And it's not just Nintendo. There's a video on the Sega Saturn, the Dreamcast, what happened to Sega, like the downfall, how the Mega Drive came to be. They even do a video on, there was a 32-bit extension that you could plug into the top of the Mega Drive, which I barely remember... which I barely remembered being a thing, but I think I owned it. There's a really good video on the Nintendo Power Glove, which I didn't realize wasn't actually made by Nintendo. It was made by Mattel, and it was licensed by Nintendo. And the history of how that actually came to be, it was never originally intended to be a gaming controller. It was made for music. It's amazing. It's really, really fantastic. You should check out their videos. Most of them are only 10 to 15, maybe 20 minutes long. There are a few longer ones in there, but they are well worth watching. Like I said, I'll leave a few links in the show notes to them. And of course, Nave and I'm better. I have actually gone back into work over the last week, so that's been good. Something I've noticed though is when I'm at work, and I make jokes. My jokes always get a good laugh. But when I'm working from home and I have to do like a call in via Teams or something like that, they don't. And I guess that just means I'm not remotely funny. Yeah, no, that was a bad joke. Live stream, just in case you don't know, I always end with a bad joke. I know it was a bad joke. It was supposed to be a bad joke. Right, live stream. I am leaving you behind now because it is time to focus on the members section of this show. So I'm going to hit finish. Bye, live stream.